friends, Christine here. Welcome to episode 18 of Quilting on Caffeine. Let's just be real. I missed March. It's been a hot minute since I've been here. March is what I'm deeming the missing month. A lot of unexpectedness came up. Some awesome, like a new job. Some not so awesome, like no stove or oven still. And oh, let's add in the boiler too. So much fun. No, but really, March just had a lot more going on than I thought. The new job is awesome. The other stuff, not as awesome, but I will tell you, I am becoming a pro at Instapot meals right here. So, for those of you who are new or just joining in, I am Christine. I am a modern maker based in Rhode Island. I mostly focus on quilts, which is why my channel is called Quilting on Caffeine, but I also love a good knitting project or two. Today, I'm going to catch us all up and then hopefully get this train moving in a forward direction instead of just stopping for random times. So, not gonna feel bad about that though, because like I said, dog, new job. Gotta pay for these hobbies somehow. Okay, first up, I finished two more projects. I finished two more projects and I finished them like, I think the first week of the month. Both of them are binding. They were just waiting for binding. I do this to myself all the time. We've discussed this in the past. I'm not a fan of binding. So the first one is this one. Cute, right? I shared that on the vlog a couple months ago when I was quilting it. I'm pretty sure I did. Probably should have checked that before I hit record, but we're just going with it. So that one is ready. It's wrapped up and it's ready to go off to my friend. And then the other one is this one. Okay, sorry, I had to pause the camera there because dogs. The first one is, there is a similar pattern to what I did by Then Came June that I can link to below. The one that I just popped onto the screen. This has been a very long work in progress for me, like years, but I love it so much. I think that was part of the reason, like I didn't want to stop sewing it because then like I wasn't going to get to work with the fabrics and with the pattern. That is the Rebel quilt by Libs Elliott, and now that that one is wrapped up, it is going to go live down the hall. So I will still get to enjoy it, but bittersweet finish for sure. I'm not sure why, but a bittersweet finish. And then it's not finished, so I'm not calling it a finished object, but it's quilted. So I had long armed this one, which is the cover shot of a vlog a few months ago. Scrappy quilt. Quilted it with some petals, which I loved. I actually loved quilting this more than I thought I would. These floppy petals, I think they're called. I will put in another shot once I am done talking, but whatever these petals are called, I loved quilting that way. So I'm gonna need to add this. It was a new one for me, but I'm gonna need to add it to my repertoire. Oh, there's a few jiggy spots, but those will wash right out. So in April, I'm hoping to finish this up. It will be nice to clear out another whip bin. I have some threads to bury, but otherwise the quilting portion of that is done. Whew. One caveat, with a job comes work hours, which means I am recording with a full house right now. So apologies for any background noise that might appear when I edit this all together. I'm trying to edit it out, but not so sure. So I also did this quilt. That is the Adventureland pattern by SuzyQuilts. It is a new release by her, and she's actually doing a quilt along as I record this. It is getting warm, so I'm removing that as well. What was I saying? Adventureland Quilts. I loved doing that one. That was a fun one to put together. I did that one with jelly roll strips. Loved it so much. Went out and bought fabric, yardage of fabric, to do another one. So hopefully that one I will share with you next time. It does go together in a day. And I say that very, like, it's a lot of straight seams, it's a lot of sewing, but it goes together quickly. And I just love the graphic look of that quilt so much. And then I hit a brick wall. I feel like I came out of the gate really strong in March, finishing things left and right. And then I lost my sojo. That's the only way I can describe it. I think it was a combination of new job exhaustion and trying to figure out that schedule, along with kids' schedules, along with household schedules, along with, oh, taxes, you know, life. So let's talk about sojo for a second, shall we? Because when you've got it, it's awesome, and when you don't, it's miserable. Sojo, I find, is cyclical. I lost my sojo recently, and I do this every time I tried to force it back into, like, circulation. That was a fail. Forcing it was a fail. And so what I did instead was I tried, like, starting a new project, because that's always exciting in a fun way, right? Didn't work. I tried sewing together a project that I had already cut out, and that didn't work. And I spent way too much time with my seam ripper because I wasn't really feeling it, and I was trying to force it. And what I ended up doing was actually cutting fabric. Cutting fabric for new patterns, which is part of it, but also I'm still working on getting down some of this stash without a purpose. So I started by digging into the bigger scraps that I salvaged from the bin and working on Amy Ellis over on, I'll link it below, So Modern Quilts, I think, is her channel. She's doing a quilt along right now for one of her patterns called Dart. So I did a couple of those blocks. Which is good because it is having me use up some fabric, like little fabric pieces I had from a project. These were not the size of the pieces. I was able to cut them to the size, but they're a lot of thin pieces, which is great for when you have like 1.5 inches of fabric left over. So I made some of those blocks, which was great. It's good leaders and enders. It did not keep my attention, and part of that is the fabric, and part of that is where I am mentally. Did not keep my attention as a nightly sewing project, but it's still fun, and it's gonna look cute when it's all put together. So just a couple of those blocks. But what I really found meditative was cutting squares. I know, it sounds ridiculous, but oh man, so this is about 3/4 of what I need. And if you're wondering if I have all low volumes, I do. So this is from random. Some of it is fat quarters that I received as like bonus fat quarters. Some of it's fat quarters that I had laying around from other stuff. A lot of it is from my actual yardage prints of other things that I have created. And a lot of it is actually from mask making. Because I did make a lot of like low volume, neutral masks. When we were all making masks, I was too. So I have about, I think this is 300 squares. So awesome. And I think that when I was cutting these squares, I realized that even though my sojo was gone, I was seeking out a meditative project. Cutting squares is very meditative for me. Sewing strips of fabric together, not as meditative. So I pivoted. But before we go into that, I am hoping that those squares will eventually become this right here. This is the front porch quilt by Quilter's Candy. So anyway, back to the pivot. I pivoted. I went back to knitting. There is something very soothing about knitting, especially when you are on the go a lot. So, remember this beauty? It's done. It is from the worsted book. It is by Stephen West. It is called Knitprovisation. I was hoping that there was a big picture in here. Yes, there is. I used, it's from the worsted book, but I used DK weight fibers. That's fine. So this still needs to get blocked. In hindsight, I wish I had finished it a little earlier in the weather. I will definitely be knitting another Stephen West shawl in the future. This was a lot of fun. This was a great nighttime project. This little wavy edge. Oh, so perfect for where I was emotionally last month. That was amazing. So I will be blocking that eventually. And then I also picked up last month this. I have no plans to knit anything from this. This is truly a bucket list. What do we call that? Dream sewing? Well, I guess dream knitting because it's not sewing. Like, look at how that. I want to make every one of these actually, but oh my gosh. And then I struck gold a couple weeks ago. No, I struck gold on April 1st. That's ironic, because that's when I busted into this sucker. Technically, I busted into it on March 29th, but April 1st was when I really realized what I had there. Remember that Stress Knits Advent that I opened during Vlogmas every day? I stashed it away because I wasn't really sure what the project was calling for. I found it. Or what project the yarn was calling for. So this is the Habitation Throw by Helen Stewart. I will subtitle that if I have misspoken on her name. I noticed the Habitation Throw found on Ravelry. And this is the meditation I was looking for. Just so calming. I think that I do this a lot. I feel pressured because I have smaller windows of time. And when I have smaller windows of time, I try to fit more sewing in because logistically in my head that makes a lot of sense, even though when you step back and look at it, you're like, that doesn't make a lot of sense, Christine. So I have pretty much cleared the decks on all sewing, switched to knitting for a little bit because even my sanity sewing of sewing fabric squares together was just not where I was. And actually now, after a few weeks of like stepping away from the studio and not being in here, the cycle's coming back around and I'm ready to come back in here and start some new stuff. And I'm not sure what I'm gonna, like, I like to end with like, what's next? I don't know. I don't know. I don't think it's gonna be working on these. I think this will be like a leader ender project for maybe when I sew together the other quilt. My X Plus blocks have grown to 35 blocks. I have put them in a little bin just so that I have some clear visual space, because clear visual space opens up my mental space. I have the Habitation throw, which will be, I can't put this thing down. I am not one for like garter knits usually because typically I don't love knitting every row. I like excitement in my knitting. But for where I am, this has been good and I can't put it down. So hopefully continue to work on this. And I really want to focus in April on finishing up. I have within my line of sight 3 quilts that still need their bindings. It drives me crazy that I kill myself. Like, this is the point. This is the hurdle that I like don't quite clear. So I'm gonna work on finishing those up. And I'm going to finish that last Adventureland quilt so I can show that to you. And maybe start something new. I am feeling the pressure a little bit because if you're involved in our sphere, you know that Course is shutting its doors and they're closing down access to the site on April 30th. So I have a couple of classes that I've purchased through people that I'm sure they will provide. I hope they will, maybe they won't provide in another format. I've purchased a couple of quilting classes on there that I would love to watch before I don't have access to them anymore. If I don't watch them, I need to like spend some time, and this is on the to-do list. Do I want to watch them and make those quilts, or am I really just looking to learn a new technique and then move on from those quilts? It might be a mix. And there's only a couple of them, but even a couple classes is still a day's worth of watching. I don't have acquisitions to share with you. Mostly because every acquisition I have is tied up in a work in progress. So, and by every acquisition, I mean 2 fabric purchases. So it has not been an acquiring month here. Tax season will do that to me real quick. You? Maybe? And just like when you feel like you're gonna make your point, the camera battery dies. And I had to switch, and I had to switch orientations because I don't even know. And the dog is losing her mind outside. I wonder why I have creative slums. I think we're starting to get to the heart of the matter here. I don't even know what I was saying last time because I was talking and I didn't realize that the battery ran out, so I don't actually know how much of this is recorded until I get it into editing. And people, I tell ya. So, you watching anything good on TV? Because I'm currently obsessed with We Crashed and Pachinko. Now, Pachinko, please don't cut fabric while you're watching Pachinko unless you're listening to the dubbed version, because reading subtitles and cutting at the same time, bad idea. But amazing interpretation of that book. So, if you like historical drama set in other countries, that might be one for you. And then I'm trying to multitask not very well. I am working on sewing down my stash. In case that has, so I think I've been calling them whips, but I think at the same time we also need to focus on the fact that I am sewing down stash. That is my real focus this year. Some of it might be scrappy, and some of it just might be stuff that I've acquired throughout the years that I love and that make me happy. And finally digging into it, a little less acquisitions and a little more, there's a word for that completions. That doesn't sound good. I like alliteration and I'm just not pulling it off there, but I think I might be playing with this fabric a little this month. That's pretty, right? It speaks to me. That's another point too. My sojo tends to disappear when it's just not resonating with where I'm at right now, and I think that's why forcing projects like I tried at the beginning of the month wasn't the right thing. I can't force projects. It needs to resonate and it really needs to call to me, which is why I knew working on some of the whips was just like a no-go at the time. But at the same time, quilting that scrappy quilt was totally the right thing to do because there's so many treasured little bits in there. I know, I fall on both sides of the I am a scrappy quilter, I'm not a scrappy quilter, I am a scrappy quilter, I'm not a scrappy quilter. We'll assess that in a future vlog. But for now, my time here is wrapped because we have places to go with the kids and dogs to be walked. Wow, that was a crazy vlog. I probably should have drank more coffee before I started that vlog because definitely had a little bit of attention deficit issues. Thank you so much for watching. I hope I haven't scared you off. I hope you're coming back again soon. I hope to get this posted soon and follow up without a whole month going by again. I hope you all are well, and I can't wait to catch up on watching vlogs as well.